Welcome, my dear third year students. Welcome, all of you, to my online class. I hope you are well by the grace of Almighty and keep maintaining necessary health rules to get rid of pandemic COVID-19. Now, come to my today's virtual class. Last week, we had a class on the text of Spenser's The Faerie Queene. Today, I'm gonna discuss the allegorical significance of Canto 1 of Book 1 of the Faerie Queene. Although allegory runs throughout this epic poem, Spenser wanted to embody each of Aristotle's 12 virtues, but finally he could be able to produce only 6 virtues in the person of each knight. And these 6 virtues are holiness, temperance, chastity, justice, courtesy. And there were only complete 6 books and 1 book is incomplete. The book 1 contains the journey of Red Cross Knight or of holiness or righteousness. Book 1 is divided into 12 cantos, as our syllabus of the National University prescribed. Only Canto 1 of Book 1 we are gonna discuss the allegorical significance of Canto 1 of Book 1. Before discussing the class, at the outset of the class, I would like to remind you what allegory is. For your better understanding, I have prepared some slides. Now I'm gonna share with you. What is allegory? An allegory is a story in verse or prose with double meanings. That means the story, the poem has double meanings, has twofold meanings. One is a primary or surface meaning, and another is secondary or underlying meaning. That means the story is a real story. Behind the story, there is another real story, and that is called underlying meaning. In an allegory, something is presented in the guise of another. The story seems to be different in terms of the meaning. The story symbolizes something very deeper, something very important, related to human beings, related to our society, politics, etc. Spenser's The Faerie Queene is founded on a set of polyphonic meanings, a combination of different layers of meanings. Spenser's Faerie Queene has different meanings, and that is called polyphonic, a combination of different tunes, different meanings, and different layers of meaning. It is different layers. It is 3 layers of meanings. What are the 3 layers? Namely, moral, religious, and historic political allegory. In the same way, Canto 1 of Book 1 touches all these 3 layers of allegory. And our canto that is prescribed for our examination, Canto 1 of Book 1 touches all these 3 layers of allegories. In Canto 1 on Book 1, all kinds of, that is, all 3 layers of meaning are available in Canto 1 of Book 1. Now, what are the allegories we are found, the Faerie Queene is beset with? First one is moral allegory. Moral allegory in Faerie Queene deals with the action, interaction of virtues and vices. Moral allegory, there are many characters. Some are negative characters, and some are good characters. And the allegory is projected through these characters. The good characters stands for the various virtues, and the bad character symbolize the corresponding vices. In Canto 1 of Book 1, the good characters are Una's parents, the Red Cross Knight, Squire. These characters are good characters, and the moral and spiritual allegories are projected through these characters. And the bad characters are, first one is the monster, and Archimego, and another, although this character is very negligent, another character is Morpheus, the sleep of God. The sleep of God plays as a negative character in this epic. The Red Cross Knight stands for holiness, and Lady Una, truth and goodness. The Red Cross Knight, the protagonist of the book 1, stands for holiness and or righteousness. And Lady Una, his companion, symbolize truth and goodness for human being. Who is Lady Una? Lady Una is the daughter of a king who is imprisoned by a dragon. And for this reason, Lady Una went to the Queen Gloriana. Queen Gloriana symbolizes Elizabeth, the Queen Elizabeth I. And Lady Una went to Queen Gloriana in quest of help, so that she can make her parents free from dragon's imprisonment. And the task was given Red Cross Knight by Queen Gloriana, and they together went to the king's kingdom to make them free from dragon's imprisonment, captivity. Stands for holiness, Lady Una, truth and goodness. This means that holiness and truth become united and determined to accomplish a difficult task. They are traveling to the kingdom of Una's parents, and where the Red Cross Knight would fight against the fearsome and life-threatening dragon. Which dragon? That dragon imprisoned Una's parents in the remote kingdom, and the task was given the Red Cross Knight by Queen Elizabeth I. And after getting the adventure, after getting this task, the Red Cross Knight, along with Una, started their journey to this remote kingdom. The mission is of holiness is to help truth fight evil and thus regain its rightful place in the human heart. What is the mission of the holiness? The mission is the holiness is to help truth so that she can fight evil and thus regains its rightful place in the human heart. Our parents symbolizes human race and the dragon who has imprisoned them stand for evil. And her parents, whose parents? Una's parents, who are imprisoned by the dragon, symbolize human race. That means human race is undergoing terrible hardship, terrible kind of complexities. And these parents, Una's parents, symbolize human race, and dragon, who has imprisoned them, stand for evil. In actually in medieval age, dragon is a negative character, and in literature, dragon monsters symbolize evil forces of human beings, evil forces of human race. Okay, and then at the outset, then they started their journey, and journey was very much dangerous and perilous because they need to undergo many forests, they need to undergo many difficult places, and the outset of their adventures, perilous journey, the night encounters the monster in the forest, which symbolize all kinds of errors. And at the outset of the adventure, very last journey, then the Red Cross Knight and his companion, Lady Una, started their perilous journey through the forest. And the forest was very much dangerous and full of dangers. And at one point of their journey, they came and in the forest they came at an unknown place, and that is the turn of the monster era, which symbolizes all kind of eras. She also represents the evil force lurking in the dark. She represents the evil force that is lurking in the dark, and that is encompassing the human beings always. The Red Cross Knight, encouraged by Lady Una, kills the monster era and marches it on its way. When the Red Cross Knight found the den of monster era, he decided to fight with her. And at their dual combat, the Red Cross Knight Red Cross Knight became victorious. The Red Cross Knight, encouraged by Lady Una, kills the monster era and marches ahead on his way. This is the first moral truth taught by the story, that the evil force can only be overcome by the combined strength of holiness and truth. If someone has the strength of holiness and truth, they can fight against evil, fight against evil and era. And this fight between the Red Cross Knight and the monster era signifies this thing very clearly. But evil cannot be conquered as easily as evil in its true color. But in human life, evil comes one after another. Evil force comes one after another, and it cannot be conquered as easily as evil in its true color. After the combat, after the fight between the Red Cross Knight and Monster Hera, then another evil force came, that is Archimego. Archimego actually, when Red Cross Knight and Una met him at the passage, Archimego seems to be very religious person, very old, very aged sage. But actually, he was the magician. He was a black magician who symbolizes hypocrisy and infidelity. He was the ultimate symbolization of hypocrisy and infidelity. He's an evil in disguise. He is outwardly pious, but inwardly malicious and dangerous. He seemed to be very much pious, very much religious minded, but inwardly he was malicious, very bad, very hypocritical character. His mission is to work out sinister design and intrigues against the Red Cross Knight. And what is his mission? What is his objective? His mission is to work out sinister design. Sinister design means bad design, evil design against the Red Cross Knight, against the Red Cross Knight and Lady Una. What is his mission? So that they may be separated from each other, so that Lady Una and Red Cross Knight separate from each other. And it was ultimate objective, ultimate mission. And then then the religious allegory of the book, moral and spiritual allegory blends with the religious allegory of the book. Actually, these three layers of allegory are not different from each other. Rather, they are inseparable. The moral spiritual allegory blends with the religious allegory of the book. The Reformation was the most important religious movement of the time, and in his epic Spenser has represented it allegorically. Actually, 16th century of England is the Reformation was an important religious movement, because through the Reformation, the Catholicism was avoided royally, and Protestantism was introduced to England in 1534. Although there are some personal reason of the King Henry VIII, he did not have a male hair, and for having a boy, you need to remarry. He needed to remarry, but the that but at that time the church, the authority of the church was adamant to give the permission to the king to marry again. And so he became the higher authority related to the religion, and that was passed in 1534. And as a result, the people of England was divided into two groups. One is for the king, for the Protestantism, and another is for the papacy, the Catholic Church. And that made and made revolution, and that was in 1558. And in 1588, the Queen Elizabeth I became the queen, and she discovered a middle way to settle the religious conflict. And what is the middle way? The middle way is Anglicanism, the own Church of England, and that process, of the middle way settled the religious conflict of of in England. And Edmund Spenser was the poet of post-Reformation age, and he was the strongest. He was one of the strongest supporter of Protestantism, and Protestantism and Anglicanism embraced Protestantism, and the Queen Elizabeth I, the ardent supporter of Protestantism, to settle the religious conflict through the invention of Anglicanism, the own Church of England. Important religious movement of the time, and in his epic, Spenser represented it allegorically, and in the epic is for the spreading of Protestantism, and Spenser was the ardent follower of Protestantism. He is a strong supporter of the Reformed Church of England, that is Anglicanism, and the Anglicanism is beset with Protestantism. He is strong supporter of the Reformed Church of England, which is the only true church for him, and against papacy and the Catholic Church. Edmund Spenser personally felt so much hatred against papacy or Catholic Church. He thought that Catholicism is the root of all kind of corruption, dissatisfaction in the society of England. The main purpose in the epic poem is to denounce the Catholic Church by glorifying the Anglican Church as it embraced Protestantism. And the main objective of the epic poem is to denounce the Catholic Church so that Anglican Church can be glorified in England. Here, Red Cross Knight stand for Reformed Church of England. Who is Red Cross Knight? The protagonist of Book 1 stands for the Reformed Church of England. Allegorically, the Red Cross Knight symbolize Reformed Church of England, that is Anglicanism. Lady Una represents humility, while the monster Hera allegorically stands for error or mistakes which human beings commit in course of their lives. Monster Hera, the Red Cross Knight, Hunhover, monster era, and that symbolize the human being mistakes and error that human being commits in course of their lives. The fight of the Red Cross Knight with the monster era symbolizes the conflict between Protestantism and Catholicism, and eventually its victory over it is the victory of the Anglican Church over the Roman Catholic Church. And the fight of Red Cross Knight. At one point of the story, we found that there was a terrible fight between the Red Cross Knight and Monster Era. And this fight allegorically signifies the conflict between Protestantism and Catholicism. Earlier, I told you the people of England at the time were divided into two segments. One is for Protestantism and one is for Catholicism. And eventually, its victory over it is the victory of the Anglican Church over the Roman Catholic Church, and the ultimate result of this fight represents that the victory of the Anglican Church over the Roman Catholic Church. The books and papers vomited by Era allude to the scurrilous pamphlets and propaganda directed against Queen Elizabeth in the Reformed Anglican Church by the Roman Catholics. At one point of the fight between Red Cross Knight and Monster Era, we find that Monster Era vomit a lot of frogs, toads, and papers, books, and this vomiting is some kind of allegorical significances. What are the allegorical significance in this case? The Era Electus Scholars pamphlet and propaganda directed against Queen Elizabeth and the Reformed Anglican Church by the Roman Catholic. At the time, Queen Elizabeth was for Anglicanism or Protestantism, and the Roman Catholic Church some spread some pamphlets and propaganda so that Queen Elizabeth is dethroned, and for this purpose, the vomiting of a monster era signifies this propaganda, and this is very nasty works that was done by Roman Catholics. The Red Cross Knight himself is a representative of Christ who died on the cross. The bloody cross that the knight bears on his breast is a token of his glittering inspiration from the death of Jesus Christ. And Red Cross Knight also is representative of something. What is the Red Cross Knight? What does the Red Cross Knight symbolize? Red Cross Knight himself is Christ, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross. And the Red Cross Knight wears a bloody cross on his vest, and this symbolizes the token of his glittering inspiration from the death of Jesus Christ. And he is, or the Red Cross Knight symbolizes the bloody cross and Jesus Christ and his blood. That means Red Cross Knight has a deep fondness or deep respect for Jesus Christ and his significant death. The moral and allegorical religious allegories are mingled with political allegory in the Faerie Queene, as politics and religion had become almost inseparable from each other. In the 16th century, to which Spenser belonged, all the things, the moral, religious, and political, these are inseparable from each other at that time. And you know, uh, religion plays an important role in the politics of England at that time in 16th century, and in literature also there will be a profound influence. There were profound influences of religious factors at that time. According to political allegory, the Red Cross Knight is Saint George of England, and Lord Leicester is Prince Arthur. There is another two reference. One is Saint George, another is Lord Leicester, and Prince Arthur. Saint George is the Christian martyr and the patron saint of England. Patron saint of England, and the, uh, the flag of England symbolizes the cross, symbolizes Saint George, and he has many he has many kind of legendary stories, stories related to killing a dragon and saving the people, and he was died in 303 AD by the Roman Emperor. Why he was killed? He was killed killed for refusing to renounce the Christian faith, and as a result, in 14th century, he was titled patron saint of England, and the flag, the cross in the English flag signifies Saint George. And Lord Leicester is Prince Arthur. Lord Leicester is an important courtier of Elizabethan court, and he had a strong influence in Elizabeth, and he symbolizes Prince Arthur. Prince Arthur is another legendary figure in English socio-political history. Prince Arthur led British army against Saxon invaders and saved England at the time. And as a result, he became a hero of inspiration for English people. And Lord Leicester, when Queen Elizabeth is going to make a relationship between her and the Prince, it was believed that Lord Leicester could play an important role in this regard. And Lord Leicester was the strong supporter of Protestantism, and he was referred to Prince Arthur. Lord Leicester signifies the mythological character of England, Prince Arthur. Laduna stands for truth, which is represented by the National Church of England. Politically, Spenser glorifies Queen Elizabeth I in this poem. You know, the Faerie Queene is dedicated to Queen Elizabeth I. Why the poem is dedicated to Queen Elizabeth I? Because the main purpose of writing Faerie Queene was to get some political rewards and some personal patron from the Queen. And Spenser glorified Queen Elizabeth in this poem because he wanted to have her as his patron, and he also supported the Anglican Church. There are two reasons to gain is patronization, her patronization, and another is the important aspect of that is religion. The Queen Elizabeth I supported the Anglican Church, and also Edmund Spenser was a supporter of Protestantism that Anglican Church embraced. In this sense, in Canto 1, Una represents Queen Elizabeth, and Monster, Queen Mary of the Scotch. And Una, in Canto 1, Una represents Queen Elizabeth, Una, the companion of Red Cross Knight in his journey, represents Queen Elizabeth. And Monster, Queen Mary of the Scotch, and the Monster, the era, represents Queen Mary of the Scotch, who was plotting against Elizabeth I, and also the supporter of Roman Catholics. Archimego symbolizing Philip Philip II of Spain is one of the powerful but evil forces of Roman Catholicism. These are Queen Mary of the Scotch and Archimego and Philip II of Spain. All of them were the supporter of Roman Catholicism, and they had a strong hatred, and they engaged themselves in plotting against English Queen, the Queen Elizabeth I, and they ardently wanted the England will be another century of Catholicism, and they worked for it together. And this evil thinking and Queen Elizabeth, Queen Monster, and Queen Mary of the Scotch, Archimego, all of all symbolizes the negative forces of Roman Catholicism. And these are this is the ending of my class. I hope this class will be very helpful for your for the preparation of your examination. And allegorical significance of Faerie Queene is very important topic for the examination. And if we have any question, you can ask me in my next class. Thank you all, and see you again. And be careful of pandemic COVID-19, and always wear mask in public gathering, and keep yourself at home, and maintain the necessary health rules. Thank you very much, and see you again.